What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got audio to do for the 3rd gen pickup. We got speakers and a head unit. Now, we're not going crazy. I don't like doing big subs and everything. I honestly don't listen to a whole lot of music. It's mainly podcasts, but either way, we got speakers for front and rears. I'm doing 6.5s in the rears and then 4 up in the dash for the front. And then we got a head unit from a Toto. Now, a huge thank you to my sponsors, both of them, CT Sounds and a Toto, for supplying this stuff here. So what we got here is a double din head unit, which in these trucks, I do believe we have to trim that bezel out for the dash, but that's not a huge deal. It's just a little plastic piece we got to trim out. So not a huge deal there, but this is a nice little head unit. And the cool thing about these is you can see how slim they are. In a tighter dash, I mean, these aren't super tight, but in a really tight dash, these are really nice because they're like 2 inches deep. Unlike most head units are, you know, like 5 or 6 inches deep. They can get a little tight for the wiring in the back, but this is gonna be perfect. Obviously, we got GPS, Wi-Fi, all the brackets, wiring, I mean, everything obviously included with this. Let's open up these speakers here and see what we got. Like I said, this is nothing crazy. These are just the coaxial speaker from CT Sounds. I believe it's the Bio. So we got the Bio 4-inch. And then the previous owner already started to do, or I guess did, kind of half-ass did, but they're not installed very clean. So we're gonna clean all that up. I'll probably just make new like face plates for the rear storage compartments on the sides. I was gonna actually, believe it or not, I bought a 3D printer like 2 years ago and I still haven't used it, and I thought this would be the perfect time to do a 3D printed insert for that rear. And then come to find out, my printer only prints 8.5 wide, or basically 8.5 by 8.5 squares, and that's about 9.5. So scratch that idea. Here's the 6.5s for the rear, and then we'll open up the 4.5s. I'm hoping these are gonna fit in the factory location without too much modifications. Now what you can do, and I'll probably do, is the 4Runners have like an enclosure for the front speakers. And I did that on my last truck and actually made a pretty big difference in sound quality. So I'll probably have to hit the junkyard up and grab a set of those little enclosures for the front speakers. But we're gonna test fit these. Like I said, these should fit no problem in the front dash. So let's jump in the truck, get that original head unit ripped out, get the speakers ripped out, get all this installed. And this is basically the same exact setup I have in the FJ40. 4-inch speakers up front, 6.5s in the rear, and it actually sounds really good. I mean, like I said, it's not nothing crazy. We're not amping it or anything, but for what it is, for just a coaxial speaker and a head unit, no amps or anything, it actually sounds really good. All right, let's check out what we are working with. So you can see we got just a little 1-din, single din. So we'll have to pull a lot of this dash out. Glove box, this whole center piece here, and then all this has to come out to get that out. But we'll get all that pulled apart. Factory speakers go one in the glove box here and one on that side, which I have a new panel. I believe I should have a new panel back there because it was missing. And then in the rear we got the 6.5s there, but it's not very clean. You can see what I'm planning on doing is I'll pull all this out and then I'll make a panel that will basically sit inside of this recess here, and then we'll mount the speaker that way. I think that'll be much cleaner. Well, shoot, I thought this radio had factory brackets on it, but it's some sort of aftermarket deal that's not gonna work with that head unit. So we're at a standstill on the head unit install. I guess what we can do is get everything wired up. Like I said, we just connect those to this adapter we got, and then we can get our speakers in, and I mean, we can get all this stuff cleaned up, and then we can work on the rear speakers, get all that. Once we get brackets, then we can get this head unit mounted up. Well, neighbor to the rescue, found some radio brackets, so we're good there. We can get that mounted up. I got one speaker pod. This is the driver's side. I bought the other one on eBay, so that will be here, I don't know, soon. So first thing I want to do, make sure these 4-inch speakers are gonna fit in these pods, make sure that's all good, and then we'll get the radio brackets mounted up, get that wired in, and then we'll start wiring speakers. Well, we got everything wired up, looking good. I ended up running new wire for the speakers just because I couldn't find this side wire. So I figured we'll just run new wire. So we got all that done. We are ready to go for the head unit. One thing I want to do real quick is wire in a reverse camera. So this one's super simple. All you got to do is plug that into the back of the radio, plug in the yellow one to there, plug this other side into the camera, and then there's just one wire that we need to hook into the reverse light for the tail light. So super simple. I'm gonna run this wire, get everything mounted up for the reverse camera, and then we'll tackle the rear speakers. All right, we got these covers done. Those turned out good. Now we need to wrap them, and I'm thinking, I have this. This is left over from the headliner on my FJ40. It's about the right color. It's got a little bit of a foam backing, but I think it's gonna be fine. I mean, this is 1/4 inch, so it's gonna add a little bit, which is gonna be nice and flush with the panels. So I think we're gonna try to wrap it with this. We'll see how it goes. If not, I'll have to order some actual carpet that's made for this type of thing. Well, those rear speakers turned out really nice. The color is just a little off, but it's gonna work. So we are almost done. We're still waiting for that front speaker box, like I said. And as far as the backup camera goes, I just realized that this transmission does not have a backup switch or a neutral safety switch. I think originally in the Chevy where this transmission came from, those switches were on the shifter or the console or something. So I did find a combo switch with the reverse and a neutral safety switch. So once we get that, we'll wire that in. But we can still test that backup camera on the head unit. You can go in and just hit reverse camera and it'll pop up. So let's throw a battery in this thing and fire everything up and see how it works. All right, let's flip this key on and see if this head unit will turn on. I'm not sure, this wiring is all kind of halfway tore apart, but as long as we have that fuse box hooked up, we should have power to everything in this truck. Oh, we got a buzz. That came on. Oh, there we go, we got lights. Let's let it fire up. We'll have to pair my phone. Let's do a little bit of setup on this head unit and we'll see how these speakers and everything sound. Oh, we got some static. Well, if you guys are unfamiliar with this style head unit, I want to show you just a few things it's got. So we got the main screen here. You can switch obviously all these icons and buttons around, but you can go through here and you can see there is so much on these just from the factory. Like I said, you can do front camera, rear camera. Actually, let's try that real quick. I don't have a front hooked up, but we got the rear. Let's see if it'll fire up. No signal detected. I'll have to go through and make sure everything's hooked up correctly there. But either way, we got, I mean, you got Google Chrome, front camera, like I said, all these Bluetooth music, Bluetooth 2, CarLink, equalizer, obviously all the settings there, a DVR cam, drive chat, which is an AI type of deal on this thing. Obviously radio, it's got Play Store, which you can download almost any app on here. Like I said, you can hook this thing up to Wi-Fi. You can watch videos on here on YouTube. It's already got the Torque app, which is super nice for some vehicles. Obviously, I'm going to do something different with my dash, but if you wanted gauges on this thing, you can use the Torque app. As long as you have an OBD2 port, you can run this Torque app and get a bunch of different gauges on this head unit. But either way, let's I'm going to get my phone connected and we'll see how these speakers sound. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. Let's go. Well, I found the issue with the reverse camera. Apparently I have the wrong one. Now this is one I had laying around. I thought it was gonna work, but this one is specifically for the X10 head units and this is the S8. So I'm gonna have to pick up the correct camera. We'll get that wired in. And then like I said, once that reverse neutral safety switch comes in, we'll hopefully be able to get that to work on the transmission and we can wire everything in and backup camera should work. Well, here's the switch setup we got in. This is from Painless. So this mounts on the arm that the shifter connects to, that actually shifts it, and there's just a couple of detents that hit these switches. I'm hoping this is gonna work because on the instructions it shows the arm coming up the top and switching like that, and then this arm basically comes here where my arm goes down. So this might interfere with that, but we might be able to get this to work. Let's open it up and see what we got. So you can see here instructions, this arm is going up, my arm goes down off the bottom of the transmission, and then these arms right here go basically like that, and then they rotate and they hit this switch, which obviously you just hook your wires up there for the reverse and neutral safety switch, and should be pretty easy to do as long as we can get these arms, this arm on without interfering with the other shifter arm. Well, after getting this thing installed, I realized you can either do the neutral safety switch or you can do the reverse lights. You can't do both, because if you were to wire both in, you would have reverse lights in reverse and in park. So we got to make a decision. Do we want a neutral safety switch or do we want a backup camera and reverse lights? All right, we got the correct reverse camera here for the head unit, so we're gonna wire that in now. Real quick, how I'm gonna wire the reverse switch is I got ignition power. I got my main ignition wire here that I just spliced into. This is for some other ignition power I need, but I got the wire run to the switch right now, and then the other side of the switch is gonna run over on this side. So I traced up the reverse wire from the back. It comes all the way up underneath the cab and into this connector here, and then it runs right up into here. I'm gonna take this apart right here and splice into that reverse wire, hook that green up so that when we hit reverse, we get power through the switch out to the reverse light. So we'll hook that up, we'll get the reverse camera installed, and we'll see if that all works. We are all ready to go. We're all wired up. The only thing I'm waiting for is the other sensor here. So we got one right here. You can see that one's for the reverse. So how this works, you can see there's that little ball. This is in neutral right now. You can see the top one would be depressed in neutral. That's for the neutral safety switch. Then reverse is there. It depresses that switch. So we should get power through that switch to the reverse light. So let's go try it out and see if it works. All right, let's see if this works. Get the head unit on, and we can go into the app here and hit rear camera. Let's test that. Oh, there we go. Already works. So now the real test, if we hit reverse, oh, look at that, it works. Now this camera does have both the overhead view and the rear view. So basically how this overhead camera works is it takes the rear view and it portrays a top-down view once you back up. So you'll see once you start backing up, you'll get more information from the rear view camera and it'll throw a overhead view. So really cool. We'll try that out once we get the truck moving. Oh, I guess we can just hit park. It goes back to the home screen. All right, we got a speaker box in for the glove box side. So we'll just swap the speaker out. We'll take that out, put it in this box, and then this box just mounts right here, and that should give us a lot better sound quality having the speakers enclosed. So I'll swap that out, and this sound system should be done. Well, we are good to go on the sound system. Speakers sound really good, actually. Like I said, for just having 6.5s in the rear and those 4s up front, they actually sound really good with no amp or nothing. Like I said, I don't need nothing crazy, and that head unit is gonna be super nice with the backup camera and everything that thing has to offer. Now, like always, everything will be linked down in the description box for the CT Sounds speakers and the Ototo head unit. Huge thank you to Ototo and CT Sounds for sponsoring this video, guys. Go check them out if you're in the market for any audio equipment. Well, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm out of here. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.